Let's welcome our first keynote of the day, Gena Barbato. She'll be presenting on having difficult conversations. Gena has been successfully navigating clients towards and throughout retirement for over 30 years. Through many years of experience, she has learned how to handle complex investment decisions and ever-changing market conditions. Gena joined UBS in May of 2012 after a successful 24 years at Morgan Stanley. She prides herself in the ability to help reduce the stress of her clients as they move on to the next phase of their life. She does this by tailoring a comprehensive financial plan and asset allocation. She's able to achieve this. Gena earned her BS degree in Business Administration from Robert Morris University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Let's all welcome Gena. Are you on the line?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi, yes, we can hear you. Great. So I'm just going to get your deck loaded.
Thank you.
And the floor is yours.
Well, thank you all for having me here. I really find this is an honor to be invited. So let me just jump right in because I know time is valuable for everybody, especially these days. So if we could possibly start maybe on slide 3 or page 3 of the slides. So, you know, having difficult conversations, one of the most important roles that you have in your life as a communicator, whether you're leading your team in the workplace, parenting a child, navigating a personal relationship, or taking care of your clients. The ability to share and receive information is a vital skill. Having difficult conversations can be challenging, but the willingness and ability to tackle touchy topics will set you apart from the rest of the pack. By following these 4 key steps, you'll remove the obstacles that may arise next time you must engage in an uncomfortable conversation. And although my slide says step 3 twice, please know that that's an error. Okay, so next slide, page 4, please. So the first step, prepare for the conversation by beginning with the end in mind. What are you actually trying to achieve? Planning and preparing for the conversation can turn down the volume of the apprehension that's going on in your head. Often we avoid difficult discussions because we're worried that having them can actually make the situation worse. The reality is that delay often contributes to the worsening conditions, not the conversation itself. It's important that you expect a positive outcome. So 10 years ago, I had to share some information with a family member, and I knew the news would not be well received. My sister was getting married and was not getting married in the Catholic Church. It was my job to tell Aunt Mary. She's 4'9", attends daily Mass, and is 100% Italian. I wasn't looking forward to this conversation, and I was concerned that my relationship with her would be damaged by this discussion, so I put it off as long as possible. I knew it was important that we have a positive resolution to the discussion, but I was not optimistic at first. We'll get back to my Aunt Mary in a minute. What would be the ideal outcome from your perspective? As you explore the possible results of the conversation from your point of view, take the time to examine your motives. According to Joseph Grenny of the Harvard Business Review, he says, our motives become short-term when we're faced with stressful circumstances. Short-term motives preserve the present by mortgaging the future. So like when you're faced with the prospect of coaching a difficult team member, it may feel more comfortable to wrap the criticism in complimentary language. However, the end result might be lost because, you know, you offer compliments and that loses sight of what's actually needed, which is more productivity. You know, a tough conversation takes place, but the most critical elements may be lost or misunderstood. The present is preserved at the expense of the team member not becoming as effective. In this case, the desired outcome is to be a more productive, contributing team member. So never lose sight of the desired outcome. During this phase, it's also important to examine any role that you've played in allowing the current situation to evolve to this point. Be prepared to acknowledge your part in the current situation and to commit any changes that you need to make. Next slide, please. Step number 2 would be gather facts. The very nature of a difficult conversation implies that each party is entering the discussion with opposing views. As you compile the data, look at the information with a dispassionate eye. Separate your emotions from the issue at hand. Don't allow anger, fear, hurt, or defensive feelings to creep into your viewpoint as you prepare for the discussion. Facts by Aunt Mary. The facts are pretty clear. My sister was not getting married in the Catholic Church. My Aunt Mary has the Pope on speed dial. Not good. Separating my fear from this discussion was going to be tricky, but I knew I had to do it. Next slide, please. The conversation. Having the conversation face-to-face is optimal, but it's not always possible, especially in these times. In a face-to-face meeting, it's important that everyone's at the same eye level, whether you're meeting in person or virtually or even on the phone. Be mindful of your voice. Speak in a calm, matter-of-fact tone. A possible opening would be, I'd like to talk with you about blank. When expressing your concerns, be very clear and provide specific examples. A lot of times people just say, well, I'm not happy with the service, like in a restaurant. But that doesn't help them to improve the service. You have to be clear about what the problem is. So provide facts before you express the conclusion you've drawn. By definition, each party comes to a critical conversation with differing points of view. After you state your facts and your conclusion, you must be willing to allow the other party to challenge your case and to state their views. Be empathetic. Think about other parties' feelings and allow them to process their emotions. Encourage them to ask questions. Do not interrupt. Consciously listen, rather than merely waiting for the other person to stop talking. And I'm sure we all know people that do that these days. You just listen, you wait for your opportunity to talk and not necessarily listen to what they're saying. Make certain you understand what the other person has said before you respond. Divorce yourself from the need to be right. Approach the conversation with openness and an interest in problem solving. Avoid yelling or swearing. Refrain from finger pointing, either literally or figuratively. Keep to the topic at hand. Now is not the time to revisit past transgressions if they have nothing to do with what you're talking about today. And offer a solution. The whole point of the conversation was to improve a situation. My conversation with my Aunt Mary was face-to-face. I was clear and specific and listened without interrupting her. Number one, she's my godmother, my aunt, and, I love her dearly. I have to say she understood and was fine with my sister's decision, thank goodness. Step number 4, next slide, please. The conclusion. Make certain that both parties have a clear understanding of the situation and the agreed upon solution. Reinforce your desire to continue a positive relationship with the other party. Both my Aunt Mary and I had a very clear understanding of the situation after our discussion. I'd planned out the conversation, imagined a positive outcome for all of us, which was difficult. I stated the facts and then listened to her point of view without interrupting. She understood the logic of my sister's decision. All of the fear and apprehension that I'd built up in my mind before our conversation was unnecessary, as most often is the case with any conversation. The anticipation of the difficult conversation to be, proved to be much worse than the actual conversation itself. So, whatever your role, I hope that these 4 basic steps can help you navigate your difficult conversations and allow you to turn your uncomfortable discussions into positive outcomes. Just to review, how to handle difficult conversations with confidence. Step number 1, prepare for the conversation by beginning with the end or the resolution in mind. Gather your facts. Actually have the conversation. So many times we can kind of talk ourselves out of having a conversation. And step 4 is just the conclusion of actually getting it done. I apologize, this is just a little shorter than I anticipated, but I'll take any questions now.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I mean, it was to the point, and I liked that.
Okay.
You can, it's very clearly laid out in this presentation. Just know what you're talking about.
Except for my typo.
I know your typo. I didn't even notice it.
I didn't until today.
It's all right. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor to some general discussion. If you would like to ask a live question, you can do so now by hitting *6 on your keypad, or you can obviously click anywhere on that slide and type out your question, and I'll be more than happy to read it for you. So we'll open up the floor now and see what we come up with for the question.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So if you need to have this difficult conversation, but you need to have it going up, so like you are a minion and you need to have it with a manager, that kind of already sets like walking in. Do you have any advice on that situation?
When you say walking in, you mean walking into the conversation or walking into where that person is?
To the conversation. Yeah. Set up, you're already starting. I was at a disadvantage simply because I was the underling.
Right. I think that's I guess I would still follow the same 4 steps. Think of the positive outcome. I would mostly think of what my actual outcome is desired. Like if it's just to level a complaint about something or some aspect of your work world, that's one thing. But if you're actually going to have this complaint with an idea on how to fix it, then I think that's a better way to approach a situation. So determine what your outcome is going to be, and then I would just be straightforward, lay out the facts, listen to what they have to say, and just pray that they just are dismissive to you in that situation. If they're a good manager or director or whatever the case may be, they should be able to follow these steps themselves.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I have a couple of written questions that I'm just going to ask the first written question. So the first one from Patricia, how do you handle different personalities, communication styles? I'm going to try this one more time and read this, Patricia. How do different personality communication styles play into your strategy?
Well, it's kind of like you can only control what you can control. So if you know the person, then know your audience type of thing, then you could kind of cater your side of the conversation to try to have them understand your desired outcome. If you don't know that person, then you can only deal with what you know, which is how you handle it. But, what I tried to present here too is kind of a logical format for having a conversation with somebody that could be a difficult situation. And you just, keep personal things out of it. And just, you can only control your style if you don't know that other person's style.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if that answers the question.
I think so, Gena. I think so. Does anybody else have a live question they'd like to ask?
Hi, I have a question. This is Layla Dickerson with the Census Bureau. Thank you so much for this presentation. And this is really good refresher on how to handle difficult difficult conversation, which I'm pretty sure all of us encounter every single day.
Everybody has an Aunt Mary. I know.
Whether it's at work or at home or with friends, it's a difficult conversation is always had. But here's a question that I was just thinking about. What if the parties that you're talking with don't believe that your intentions are good? A lot of times you have a conversation with someone and they bring in personal issues about you. So therefore, you have to, how do you change their mindset to know that your intentions are good when they don't believe that they are because of something personal?
Right. That's a great question. And I wish I had like a perfect answer for you. The thing of it is, you can't. you can't, it's hard to do that, to change that person's mind and to have them sort of act maturely and follow along the sort of conversation rules. The best you can do, in my opinion, was don't get caught up in their back and forth, rehashing or whatever the case may be, and just stick to the facts, be clear, be concise, and then maybe, depending on the level of frustration on both parties, maybe you have to revisit it, and end it, and then come back to it when people have, sort of cooler heads prevail. Because, and you may never completely convince somebody. You can only do the best that you can with, trying to prove that point to them. But again, I think one of the things is to be clear with them, but also try to gear your conversation towards the end result. There's not not every conversation is going to go the way we need it. And we just have to try to stay focused on the facts. Is this happening? Or are you just afraid that this is happening or going to happen?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a written question from Ginger. Is there a difference with talking to a male versus a female?
That's also a good question. There's so many differences between men and women in this, especially in the business world. So I would kind of do with the things that I've summarized here. I would be to the point, to the T on these kinds of points. I think women are more emotional, but I don't mean emotional bad way. Just have a little bit more passion, or just a more compassionate group of people, or more empathetic group of people than I think men are in the workplace. So they're more sticking to the facts. So I would just be very concise, stick to the facts, don't let anything emotional play into it, and really force yourself not to give in any way, shape, or form. Don't let them suck you into succumbing to anything.
Absolutely. Would anybody else like to ask a live question?
Yes. Can you just maybe talk through a difficult conversation that just didn't go your way at all, and maybe what was a big learning or takeaway that really was an aha moment for you?
Oh, okay, let's see. So I have a kind of a current situation, and it's making it difficult because I have a client. So I have a client whose husband recently passed away. And not to get too specific here, but let's just say that not everything with the resolution of his assets played to the way that this spouse wanted it to go. So I'm still struggling. It's every day. I think it's a lot she's going through. She's mourning. So she's not listening to me. No matter what I'm trying to get across, I'm trying to physically see her. I just think sometimes it's easier face to face. But she's not open to that. And, I guess, I don't know, really, I'm still kind of working through this right now with her. And I guess one of the things is just an aha moment would be just the level of patience that I have to have. And because of my industry, I have to be very careful with her complaining about me, because that turns into a bigger situation. So I'm just trying to navigate through this with her as slowly as possible, repeating several times, documenting every conversation, and I still am not at the desired outcome yet, but I'm working on it. I guess my biggest thing with this situation is patience, but I'm not through it yet. Even every conversation that I have with her is a challenge. I don't know if that helps or not.
No, thank you.
would anybody else like to ask a live question?
I would. Hello?
Okay, go ahead.
What do you do if you're in a conversation with somebody and they won't be quiet? How do you get your word in?
That's also a good question. That's also a tough one. We see that happening every day. You just have to, I guess, try to let them finish. I personally would probably say, you know, can I please respond? Will I have the opportunity to talk? Will I have the opportunity to respond to what you're saying? Or is this just where you're telling me a certain thing and this is not a conversation, this is just a lecture? I mean,
like in board meetings, I mean, there just seems, sometimes it's really hard to slide in there and make a comment. You know,
do you, in the board meeting, do you raise your hand?
Yeah. And you know what's rescued me a number of other times has just been other women saying, I think she's trying to speak. I mean, and it goes both ways, but it's just really unbelievable. This still goes on. But anyhow, thank you for your feedback.
Right. No, sure. Good luck.
Yeah, we'll need it.
Right.
How do I mute? Can you hit me? I don't know how to mute again.
Star 6.
Star 6 again. Okay.
Did
that work?
No.
Yeah.
No. It's okay. It's okay. I'll global mute before we go to the panel. It's all right. So don't worry about it. Yeah, some great questions coming through here, Gena. I've got another written one.
Okay.
So actually, it comes from Ginger again, and you may have kind of addressed this earlier, but how do you diffuse the difficult person if they're becoming emotional during the conversation?
I mean, you know, like I said, you let them try to talk. You try to listen, really listen to what their emotions are. But at a certain point, number one, I don't believe that, like, because someone's upset, maybe you take a little bit of, you know, brunt of that. But we're humans too, and we shouldn't have to just give in and take anything that people throw at you when they're in that situation. So in my opinion, I would be as polite as possible and just try to end the conversation and come back to it when that person's calmed down. That's really the best thing, because nobody's getting anywhere by shouting that. And believe me, I've tried. It doesn't work.
No, you're right. You're definitely right about that. Shouting will most likely not get you anywhere.
Right, and when one person's emotional, it's going to probably lead to shouting before anything else. Both of you shouting.
Absolutely. Cooler heads prevail. I don't know who said that, but
right.
I remember, you know.
Right.
All right, does anybody else have another live question before we move on to the panel for today? All right, I'm going to take that as we have no more questions for the first keynote. Gena, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate this.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm so happy that you got the live questions, some really great live questions, and some really great answers.
Yeah.
So I hope to have you with us again. Definitely.
I hope so too. And I appreciate everybody and anybody's free to reach out to me personally if they wanted to talk further. So thank you so much.